Welcome to Indawa, the African Debate. My name is Mdudu Zibrian, and thank you ever so much for joining us today, as always. Today, we've got something very special and different for you guys. I've got somebody joining me. In fact, let him introduce himself.
No, thanks so much. I'm glad to introduce myself. My name is Keegan Longueira. I am actually just turned 30 years old, so I'm no longer as young as I thought I was. Adventurer, lover of life, trainer, personal trainer, and a gym coach. And yeah, I've done some adventures over through the years, and South African, born and bred, and yeah, I love the continent. And probably here to speak about one specific trip from Cairo to Cape Town that I undertook on a bicycle solo in a record time of 59 days. So that's who I am.
He's trying by all means to be modest. Now, I think the first part is what gave you that inspiration? What made you get up one day and decide, forget everything. I just want to focus on being someone that's involved in adventures and traveling as much as I can, seeing not only South Africa, but the continent in a different perspective. What gave you that inspiration?
I think the inspiration came from school days. I remember when I was young, getting a bicycle and pushing that and thinking to myself, but I'm not really allowed to cycle there. So let me cycle just short of that. And then when I proved that I could cycle there, I cycled a little bit further till eventually I was cycling all the way around the block. And I think pushing those boundaries followed me through high school, getting to high school and realizing that everybody knew what they wanted to study. Everybody knew where they wanted to go and do what they wanted to do with their life. And I was at a point where I was like, I'm not too sure, but I need to do something. I need to follow what I'm feeling inside. And many times in my life, I've tried to suppress that. I've tried to say, well, let me just go study something. Let me just go try do this. Let me, sit at a desk. Let me settle down. And it's always gone badly for me. And these moments where I kind of just let what I want to do out, I think that's what really inspires me. So it's always been there. And then from there, researching records, looking at various cycling trips. I experimented with the idea of a lot of different trips. I cycled from across South Africa, my first time by myself. I did that trip again. I did it with a friend. So I gained experience slowly till at a point where I felt like I was ready. I'd done the planning. I kind of knew the basics, nutrition, hydration, camping. I had all these skills built up that I thought, okay, I could look at this Africa record. I could do the averages every single day. And I could do this. So just that thought, I mean, why did Edmund Hillary climb Everest? He said it because he could.
Yeah.
And I think that's how we should look at it. We can do these things. Let's go out and do them.
From a distance, when everyone's looking at it, it's like, oh my goodness, Cairo to Cape Town in 59 days. This is so amazing. It must have been a breeze. What are some of your biggest challenges that you met throughout this journey? Like some of the challenges that really stick out to you and you go, oh dear, I wouldn't really want to go through that again.
Well, I think there's nothing that I would say to you I wouldn't go through again. There's definitely places that were scary, very scary, that when you look back, you actually think that you've actually grown through it.
Yeah.
But definitely encounters with people. People are the biggest threat to our dreams, I feel. I really do feel that, in a good way and a bad way. So in a sense of a threat, like I would get to a border and I would have 3 policemen pointing guns at me, asking me where I'm going, asking me to provide papers and passports and things like that, very aggressively. And in those moments, you realize if these men at this border do not want me to pass, I'm not passing. And there's that control again, where it's kind of like you can plan as much as you want, but when you are in your tent and you're woken up by, for example, the one evening in Sudan, I was woken by either a border official, a policeman, a military man, still not too sure. But all I know is that there was a barrel of a gun in my tent, AK-47, what be it, in my tent, waking up to that and just being in this sense of panic. Like, what do I do now? How do I respond to this? Give me your passport. I mean, it's nighttime, you're looking for all your things and you're in a confined space. So I think those moments of encounters with people that were not willing to let me pass, or maybe unsure of the situation, I would say. I don't think anybody comes across as really aggressive in the beginning.
Yeah.
But if something's uncertain and you see somebody cycling on a bicycle in your town, you want to get a little piece of that. Like, what's going on here? I'm going to stop you. I want to see your papers, you know? So you kind of learning how to handle those situations with being calm, with being kind, and realizing that it's not your country, and, you know, trying to be as diplomatic as possible and just trying to handle those situations. I think those were my toughest encounters with people. It wasn't the long kilometers. It wasn't the lack of food on some days or hydration. It was definitely people that are the biggest challenge in any adventure, I think.
Now, of course, you try to be modest about it, but just before I ask my next question, I want to throw it back to you. Where does this record sit? Which book is this record in?
Okay, so this record was set. It was a Guinness World Record. It was in the book in 2015 now. I'll double check on that. Yeah, I think it was set 2015. Wow. So it was a 2015 record. Yeah. And the original record that I broke was 71 days by a Dutch guy who had done it. Yeah. And my goal was obviously to beat that. And I broke the record. I did it in 59 days.
So when you started, I want to see the two aspects of starting and finishing. When you started, were you very nervous at the start? And towards the finish, were you very fatigued to the point of excitement, or I could stop at any moment, if you get where I'm trying to come from?
Yeah. Oh, that's a good question. So I think maybe not nervous in the beginning, but very anxious to get started. You kind of in like race mode. I've never ever done a trip that was longer than 2 months, right? Yeah. So there I am at the start line, and you like 3, 2, 1, go. And 50 kilometers in, you're realizing to yourself, I'm going too fast, I'm rushing, I'm pushing too hard. I've got 2 months left, maybe more. Yeah. Why am I so concerned about the first day? So I think that was a mind shift change for me, you know, cycling the first 100 kilometers, then 150 kilometers. And then I thought to myself on day one, if I turned my bike around right now, it would be quicker just to cycle back to Cairo in Egypt. And that
Get
went
back on a flight.
It's crazy. The second day, the third day, the fourth day, the fifth day, each time you think about how far you've come and you're like, I could still go back and it would be quicker to go back. So I think that was my thought in the beginning. I just wanted to get to that halfway point. I felt like when I crossed that halfway point, and that was about at bottom of Tanzania, going into Kenya, that was when I knew, okay, cool, you passed halfway. Now it's quicker to cycle to Cape Town. So I think that was in my mind a lot of the time. And then getting to Cape Town was a strange feeling because I hadn't thought about stopping. I hadn't thought about the end. I think I'm kind of a person that pushes through the finish line. You think of Usain Bolt running sprint, you know, it's not like he sprints and stops at that line. You know what I mean? You kind of got to go through the line if you want to make a really good effort. Yeah. So I was always thinking to myself, you get there, you know, even to the last minute, you push as hard as you can, you stay focused. And that night, after I had finished the trip and we had had all the celebrations, and met with all the charities and all the people that were involved in the trip, I think that's when it hit me, sitting in my hotel room and realizing there's nowhere to go. Tomorrow I don't have to cycle. I don't have to get on the bicycle. It's over. And there's like this wave of relief came over me, but also a bit of wave of confusion. Like, this was everything to me for 2 months and now it's stopped, so I had to find something new.
Now, on the basis of finding something new, you also have done other different adventures apart from cycling from Cairo to Cape Town. Of the adventures that you've done so far, what are some of the highlights, as in what are some of your favorites that you look back and you say you thoroughly enjoyed that process, whether to shape you mentally or physically? Yeah.
I think two come to mind, and I had grown a lot since the Africa trip. And funny enough, both have got a big emphasis on people. Where Africa, the people, it was difficult for me. You had this anxiety of trying to break the record, but then there's a lot of obstruction in the way.
Yeah.
So the one adventure we did was go into Swaziland, which is a landlocked country in South Africa, for people that don't know. And our goal was in Swaziland was to spend 7 days in Swaziland with 70 Rand, which means 10 Rand a day.
Yeah.
What would that be like? Less than a pound, less than a euro, less than $1 a day. And actually see if we could get through with enough food, enough place to stay, from the goodness of people. So we had no land, and we're like, okay, here we go. We're going to rely on the friendliness and kindness of people to get us through this country. Yeah. And no jokes, we came out of that country with change. Like, we went in with 70 Rand and I came out with money in my pocket. It was incredible how the hospitality of people in that country, it was incredible. And we saw the whole country. The second one that comes to mind is Kilimanjaro, for sure. Is standing on top of the highest point in Africa and just looking down and seeing the sunrise, seeing the clouds, seeing the land and how far it stretches was very profound for me. It's like I had cycled across this continent, and now standing on top of Africa was like, wow. And with people from all over the world. I mean, we had Chinese people with us, we had Germans, I think that was a highlight for me. And we had two great porters on our trip. And I have very fond memories of them getting me through that trip. Just their ethic and their love for Kilimanjaro, the mountain.
Brilliant. I've got friends that climbed Kilimanjaro. Can't remember if they got to the top or not, but one thing they do say is that the porters were just simply amazing, and they guided them through the process quite easily. And if it wasn't for them, the journey would have been very different. So I guess I'm just rubber stamping the porters.
No, absolutely. They are incredible. They tell you to slow down where you should slow down. They give you these little pieces of knowledge that it's like one word. They'll say to you, slowly. Almost like a dad would tell a young child, hey, just relax here, or drink enough water, or these little bits. And only when you get to the top, you realize how wise they are. They're just calm. Nothing panics them. They're amazing people.
Brilliant. That's smashing. Now, fast forwarding a little bit. Apart from going on adventures, you're also involved within the CrossFit sort of sector, very growing sector, not only in the world, but in Africa as well. Do you see the growth of CrossFit also growing sort of the health industry just across South Africa and the continent in general? Because for a long time, we do know that in the continent, health has been, I'm fine. As long as I wake up in the morning, it's okay. But do you think that the growth of CrossFit and generally the gyms sprouting everywhere will be a very good thing for the continent.
I do think so. I really do. I think that for so long, especially from specifically the countries that I know in Africa, it's kind of survival mode, you know. And I think if we go from survival mode never changes from survival mode. You can be the richest guy on earth, you're still going to work. It's just the food that you eat now is more expensive, the cars are more expensive, the holidays are more expensive, but still that there's no fulfillment in, for me, is something that's very important. And to do the things we want to do, and that needs health and fitness. That needs us not to be super overweight, just to be able to move our bodies and get into different motions easily. When we call upon our bodies, we need to do it. And I think that's a big belief system for me, is that I want to see people be able to do the things they want to do and let nothing hold them back. If you want to go climb a mountain, you should be able to climb a mountain. If you want to do a bicycle trip across the continent, you are capable, and you need a bit of tweaking here and there, but you're ready to go. Yeah. So I do think that CrossFit has had a role in that. I think there's two aspects to that as well. The one is competition. So CrossFit as a sport and as a competition is high impact, high volume, a lot of work, a lot of hours in the gym, which is a sport in itself, can lead to injuries, burnout, and perhaps something that you don't want. Yeah. You know, it's like, for example, any professional sport. You know, you're not going to play rugby till well into your 40s. It's the same as CrossFit. There's a very small, if you want to be an athlete, there's a very short and small window for you to be in there. But on the other side, CrossFit as a tool to get healthy, 1 hour a day, popping into a local gym and letting the coaches and the trainers guide you, is an excellent tool to get fit and to get moving. And I think the guidance, if we can as a society hold our trainers more accountable, to get us to where we need to be, I think we definitely will see a shift in South Africa specifically, especially on professionalism. Yeah. You know, for too long it's like, oh, that guy looks fit, he can train me. You know, I think we need to, as trainers, we need to continue to grow, educate ourselves, and if we need to be a good service, a service that somebody's like a doctor. You don't go to a doctor because he's generally healthy. Oh, that guy looks healthy, I'm gonna trust him with my health. No, we've got to step up as trainers and really qualify ourselves and educate ourselves.
Brilliant. And I think that message goes beyond the continent, to be very frank, when it comes to personal training in general. What next for you then, Keegan? Any adventures in the pipeline after COVID?
So I've been, well, since being in Europe, I've been in Spain for a little while, and I've now in Ireland. So I'm looking at different things. You know what I could do. There's not massive mountains here, or specifically in Ireland, but I think just to get outdoors and to do some short trips, weekend trips. Some things like that would be really cool. But nothing really planned. I think really just focusing on using the time to get better with just broad knowledge base on various activities. So doing a lot of reading, a lot of books, a lot of research, and hopefully I can, and as well get my clients to change their mindset as well. And when this lockdown lifts, hey, let's get out of the gym. We've built our bodies now. Let's go do some cool things that's gonna build some memories.
Brilliant. Keegan, thank you ever so much for joining us here on Indaba. We really appreciate this.
No, it's been incredible. Thank you so much for having me.
Brilliant. Thank you ever so much. Guys, as always, this is Indaba, the African debate. Clearly, even on a less political level, an open border system across Africa will be beneficial. It makes it even easier to travel. It makes it even easier to go around and have adventures. This is Indaba African Debate. Thank you ever so much.